Joe Cool says he's early and ready for once. LMAO, laughing his something. Heine off. Fritz Mueller's in Miami. Ted Ryman saying hi from Cape Town. Andrew Pindar, A up. I think he's in Scarbados. Texted with him this morning. John Maddox, I actually made it here to where I can be in the chat. Welcome, John. I'm so excited, all the way from Kansas City.
Yay.
His football team won over the weekend, at least. Ours, not so much last night. David James, ahoy from north of the bridge here in the Bay Area. Graham Sweeney from Yell, Scotland. Joe Holtzman in Estes, Colorado. Tier DeYoung in SoCal. Got a great show today. Jeff Kitson. Hi, Jeff, my home state of Michigan. And others signing on as we're about to get this one across the starting line. Welcome. Bill Burgess in Sydney, where it's Wednesday morning. Peter Shoemaker, also from Michigan. Hi, Peter. Let's go. That's Larry Kennedy checking in from New York City. Phil Walker from Rochester, the original, not New York. Rochester, what, Minnesota? Not Rochester, New York. Betsy Allison, hi, Betsy. Newport, Rhode Island, many-time Yachts Woman of the Year, great sailor. She sailed in the Championship of Champions. We're going to talk about it here in a bit.
Good.
Welcome to the show. Julie, I trust you're well.
Yes.
And Andrew Pindar is in Kent. Kent, not apparently in Scarbados, in Scarborough. And lots of others, lots of others checking in for this, our show number 657 for the Tuesday, the 24th of October, 2023. We just want to say at the top of the show, thanks. This show is really brought to you by the Fozy, as most of you know, the regulars anyway, know that this show is brought to you by those of you who are patrons. Please support us via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Help keep us on the air. And you are our sponsors, because we have the odd partner, the odd sponsor, but we like to be able to have no influence whatsoever on what we say, what we think. And as a result of you making this viewer-supported media, we can continue to do that, and thank you very much indeed. We didn't have a show on Friday because, as most of you will know, the regulars, we didn't have a show. We can blame my daughter Meg and Aaron Schraberg. Julia, you saw some of the pictures.
Oh, yeah, fabulous.
And it was it was good fun. It was a fun time had by all. Some of you saw these photos probably on my Facebook page. That's just before the ceremony on Friday. We had a bit of a rehearsal on Thursday, and nice activities at San Diego Yacht Club. The wedding was down at the north end of Shelter Island at the Bali High. Beautiful view over San Diego Bay. My wife Leslie on the right, and Meg and one of her attendants. That was the before photo. Just before, Leslie and I walked her down the aisle. This is the after photo. I said, Meg, why are we doing this in tuxedos and formal attire? Why don't we do this in shorts and flip-flops and maybe a blazer? But she said, no, this has got to be proper. This is the way to do a wedding. And
absolutely,
we will do it in formal attire. And everyone was in a suit, and the wedding party were in tuxes and nice dresses. And that's an after photo there, looking out on the water to the east, really, on San Diego.
Classic photo. It's lovely.
It was good fun. It was a wonderful wedding, and I put this on my Facebook kind of as an LOL the day before the wedding, and I had comments from any number of you, including Paul Homchick, saying, certainly you own a tux. It was I at Friar Tux, which is a chain of gentlemen's shops.
Indeed.
Formal attire, and I said, yes, I've owned a tux since the 90s, and one before that. The one before that doesn't fit. At least the one in the late 90s still fits, although I had the pants let out at least once, maybe twice. And Homchick says, yeah, I do. He said, and it still fits. Well, that was me commenting back to Paul Homchick. And Gordon Smith said, I used to own a dinner jacket, but it got partied out. I did a formal morning suit for weddings, and it has been worn exactly twice
Oh, my.
in 30 years. As I explained to my children, regardless of their wedding plans, I am turning up in it. None of them are happy, but I do love a return on an investment besides the fact that I think I look great in it. That was Gordon
Good for you, Gordon.
Smith. Now, I promised to tell the truth. I'm not sure I told you this, did I?
What?
About Friar Tuck's, why I went to Friar Tuck's?
No.
Well, the truth is, I left here, and we rushed out of here on whatever morning, Thursday morning, to
Right.
fly down there for the rehearsal, and I had left my tux hanging in the closet
Oh,
so it would not get wrinkled.
yes.
You know, rather than folding it up, putting it in
Right.
the roll-on bag and having it get wrinkled on the way down to San Diego on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Got down to San Diego, opened the case
Oh, you
up
left it.
Thursday, and said, "Oh no, the tux is in the closet at the Beach Street Yacht Club."
Oh.
So I went to Friar Tuck's on Friday morning, first thing,
No wonder it fit. Yeah.
to rent a tux.
Yes.
And the rental cost was $169, and I could buy it. All I didn't need the whole thing because
Yeah.
I had all the accoutrement
Right.
and the shoes. I all
Yeah,
brought my
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
but I needed the jacket and the pants. And
Yeah.
he said, "Well, you can have the jacket and the pants for $240 something." I said, "Well, now I have two tuxes."
Yes.
So that's the truth. I always tell the truth, and that's why I was
Well,
at
then we have to make up more excuses to wear it.
Well, one never knows, but now I have two tuxes.
Yes.
And this one fits quite well compared to the one from the 90s that's been let out any number of times.
Yes. You might even have an occasion this weekend.
Well, maybe. Okay, Hanfield, I'm going to go from the comments at the bottom and go, most men 20 years into marriage can't fit in it by the 40th. It suddenly fits again. Good one, John.
Yeah.
Don't laugh, but I still have my tux in my wardrobe. Ryman is saying, Ted in Cape Town. I second the Betsy comment. What's the Betsy comment? We'll get to see where that is. Looking great, Tom. Looking like a fantastic. Yeah, it was a wonderful wedding. And some of you saw the video of the dance. The two of them
Oh,
had rehearsed that dance.
yeah. It's the finale of Dirty Dancing.
Exactly.
That-
And they came out, and that clip that it was on my Facebook page was only the kind of the start and the first little bit of it. They actually did.
I know. I was
The-
amazed.
Yeah, and we were all kind of holding our breath, and Aaron did not drop Meg, and it all worked out. And
It was perfect.
it all worked well. Anfield's in Newport, of course. Jeff Kitson, thank you. John Emmett, hello, good evening, John. Joe Holtzman, very, very well. Meg's got a lot, I got a lot of class. It's all third, but Meg's, she's got good class in it. It was a good thing to do. You only get married once, hopefully, knock on wood. But
Right.
yeah, it was great. It was Ted Ryman, thank you. And Meg did a nice job with her coordinator, and it was all fine.
Even all the typography, that was very tasteful. That must have been a big part of Meg's input too.
Yeah. Okay, so the original Rochester is in Kent. I guess they're talking about Kent in the UK, where history comes from. Yes, okay. And, okay, enough of all those comments, and thanks again for the many. Did you remember to at least pack your Speedo? No, I didn't pack the Speedos. I wasn't going swimming in San Diego, although that would have been a good idea. Sheila Jody is saying, congrats to Meg and her new husband, Aaron. It's a special day when you walk your little girl down the aisle. That is
Question about that.
that is correct. Okay, so some other news, just since we didn't do a show on Friday. Bravo Zulu to Australian Sailing and to Alistair Murray, our super Fozy, who's the president. They sent out a release, and okay, people come onto the board and people leave the board, but this was so well done and so understated by Australian Sailing. I thought I'd run it right here at the top of the show. They had their AGM last Thursday or Friday, and a guy, neither of whom I know, Luke Patterson and Richard Wormwald from Perth and Melbourne, respectively, have been elected to their board. And they sent out a nice release outlining the background of these two gentlemen. And they're both business types and also keen racing sailors. good to see on a board of an NGB, of a national governing body, as the Olympic world calls it. And these two, Patterson and Warmwald, were welcomed at the AGM, as well as farewelling the two who were leaving, Lissaman and McLean. Now, Skippy Lissaman is a longtime friend, and Julie, you probably know he sailed on Australia 2 when they won. That's how good a yachtsman he is, and he's out in Perth, and we've talked. I don't know if we've ever had him on I may have had him on the show at one point, but terrific guy. Jenny McLean, I don't think Alistair's brought her onto the show through one of his AAAAs, but just bravo Zulu, because they also celebrate feat those that are leaving the board. And Alistair's press release said Lissaman joined the board in 2016 and was chairman of the Audit and Risk Committee. McLean joined in 2015 and was a member and former chair of Australian Sailing National Safety Committee throughout her term. Quote, I would like to express my most sincere gratitude to both Skip and Jenny for all their time and hard work in their roles as directors of Australian Sailing, unquote, said our super Fozy, Alistair Murray. Okay, that's not magical, but the fact that he did it, and did it right, Julie, and did it so nicely and tastefully. But wait, there's more from the president, our
with a new haircut,
longtime friend. Well, I don't know how new that photo is. I think that's at Sandringham Yacht Club, at his club, main club. And he said, quote, I love this. We will miss their insights and experience at our meetings, along with their passion for seeing sailing and our affiliated clubs. Get that? Affiliated clubs thrive. They both played key roles in helping us navigate the challenging times of COVID and deserve the thanks of the sailing community for their significant volunteer service.
Yay.
Exactly. Yay and more. Bravo Zulu, Alistair. Bravo Zulu to them. Bravo Zulu to Sailing Australia. Cool stuff. Now, while we're on Alistair and on cool people, I thought we'd do a Fozy focus. This from another, he's always on here. I haven't seen his name yet, but I'll bet you he's on here, and that is Gordon Smith in Denmark. He's a Brit living outside Copenhagen, and he's another one of these cool people and Fozies who has sent us, I think once before, maybe twice, may have had him on live once, we may have had him on video, but he has sent a video, and it's the quality is spectacular. Here, have a look.
Hello, and greetings to Tom, Julie, the Fozy, and the specialist Alistair Murray. As we'll get into in this short piece, huge thanks to Alistair for his enthusiasm in getting people out and enjoying sport and enjoying the sociability of doing things together. We're also going to celebrate 50 years anniversary this weekend of the construction of the Sydney Opera House, which of course is this iconic building in Australia, and was designed by the famous Danish architect Jørgen Utzon. So that's a kind of reaching across the seas aspect. We're standing here in the middle of a fabulous forest, 5 kilometers to the north of Copenhagen city centre. It's a UNESCO protected area that we live in, and just down here is a building called the Hermitage, or in French, En Hermitage, which is the hunting lodge for the royal family. Also, if one takes a walk down this path, you'll come to the world's oldest amusement park called Barken, B-A-K-K-E-N, or The Hill. And it's open to the public. It's one doesn't need to pay. It's a very old school amusement park, and it's a lot of fun to go and visit. So, Alistair, very sweetly, has sent to me and to us, the Fozy, a couple of gifts. Here's my fabulous cycle top, which has been getting me out and about on my electric bike. I bought the electric bike because I'm not getting enough exercise, and I wanted to get out there and, yeah.
I think that's lovely.
Get some fresh air in me. And Alistair's contribution has only gone to encourage me a little bit more. Alistair has also sent, which I'm about to mail to Tom Eamon, this, the iconic Yachties are Hotties cycle top. So I'm going to come up with a question for the Fosey to answer to win the cycle top. It's an extra large size, so I'm afraid it's not really suitable for Jody Shields or myself, but those of a slightly slimmer build it'll work beautifully for. And I'd like to think that whoever wins the shirt will make a generous contribution to charity, as I indeed did with this one. So I'd like to thank you all, and particularly to Alistair, and said celebrating this weekend and also celebrating Alistair's generosity in supporting his fellow sportsmen and the Fosey. So thanks to you all, and hope you have a lovely weekend. Take care.
Okay, so that's just really part one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's more. And I left the mics up so Julia, you could hear Julia. We do talk and laugh and comment always nicely during these videos,
yes.
right?
Right.
Right. And this is from Gordon is so nice and so thoughtful, of course. And Fritz Mueller's saying, love the jersey. There's back and forth here, back. And I think this comment from Gordon himself, we were talking about Sailing Australia a minute, or Australia Sailing a minute. He said, I recently had a look at the Australia Sailing website, as did I this morning, and it is worth a look. You really get a strong sense that they focused on their members and not on personalities promoting themselves. Really refreshing. And I couldn't agree more, Gordon. I think that is spot on. And go have a look at their website. It's clean, it's simple, easy to navigate. There's not stuff popping up all over the place. Good stuff. Now, Gordon mentioned that this past weekend was the 50th anniversary of the iconic Sydney Opera House, and I thought we'd tell you something more about that and the anniversary.
It's 50 years since this headland on Sydney Harbour became home to one of the world's most iconic buildings. There was very nearly something else here. A design contest for the space attracted 233 entries from around the world. 38-year-old Danish architect Jørn Utsen's idea was picked off the reject pile by one of the judges. Construction began in 1959 with a budget of $7 million and an expected completion date of 1963. It wasn't until 1973 that it finally opened, the cost having blown out to $102 million. By then, Utsen had quit the project after falling out with the state government. He never returned to see his masterpiece complete. But all the trouble was worth it. UNESCO heritage listed and synonymous with Australia, the Sydney Opera House has hosted 118,000 performances and attracts an average of 11 million visitors each year. Ahead of its time, and now 50 years later, aging gracefully. Paul Allen, Bloomberg, Sydney.
Yeah, Bloomberg Sydney had that report from a day or so ago, and I didn't know it was 50 years. Can you imagine how time flies?
I was there when it opened.
You were? Wow. You and your late great husband were
we were in the midst of the Great Sydney back and forth in those days.
You were. You spent a lot of time in Oz. Well,
Yeah.
that's the backstory on the sails and the iconic building and the design by the Danish designer. Now, Gordon has a question, and the first one, listen carefully to the question and then put your answer in the comments. And the first one to get the question right is going to get the shirt. So, Julie Aarons, if you say you want one, get ready. And I'm sure some of you will be Googling, but those of you, somebody's going to know this off the top of your head. And if you do, you'll get it into the comments first, and you'll get the shirt. That's the deal with Gordon and with Alistair.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
My question for someone to earn this fabulous cycle shirt is: the Sydney Opera House in Australia was designed by the Danish architect Jørn Utzon. So what piece of fruit inspired Jørn Utsen's design?
And I must say that I didn't know that it had been, did you know that it had been, don't say it, had been inspired by a piece of fruit?
No.
The design? I didn't either.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, David James has already got it. That was fast. That smart, bright guy that he is from your university, Stanford, he must have known it right off the, right?
I'm sure he did.
Oh, look at that. He's got it. Chris Fury's got it. Fritz Mueller said coconut. No, buzz, dong. But we have a winner already, and that is David James from across the bay, the peeled orange. And that is correcto mundo. And here's the answer from Gordon.
The answer is an orange.
Now, we can't just leave it there. Why was he inspired, that is the Danish architect,
Yes.
by an orange?
Mm.
Well, as usual, we have the answer here
Of
on
course.
Sailing Illustrated.
The secret of cheap production is to make the same shape over and over again. You don't want lots of one-offs, different shapes and sizes, like the ones here.
It looked as if Sydney's sail ribs each curved differently and would need differently shaped moulds. Expensive.
And then Utzon found the answer to building his magical space in this. Now, it wasn't a magic orange with the answer written in it. It was a shape. Because as he peeled the fruit, he realized he'd got it. Each of the sails is a different shape, but they could all come from one curve.
It's incredible, but if you took a huge orange 150 metres across, you could make the Sydney Opera House sails out of pieces of the peel. Each sail is a different sized piece of the peel. Because it's the same orange, all the sails curve in the same way. So each of the different sail ribs could be made of the same curved segments, a few for the small ribs and more for the big ones. Production could be simplified.
I, for one, had no idea.
I didn't either.
But orange, how clever, Don Lunabos is saying. Mueller, Fritz is saying fascinating. And Lotte Pindar says, how pithy. Now, David James, the generous soul that he is, said, please send the shirt to Julie Ahrens. So that means I think we're doubling down. We're going to get a charitable contribution to the charity of their choice, their choices, probably from each of them. Thanks to this generous donation from Alistair via Gordon Smith, and then Gordon sending it on to us. And these comments are flooding in now. Should have used a lemon and made limoncello. Hi, Peter Stevenson, also in Sydney.
Oh.
I would donate it to charity if Jody Shields wears it. It's an extra large, but I think it's still, so it's a cycling shirt, so it's probably a little tight. Ted Ryman saying clever. He liked that video, those videos from Gordon Smith. Jeff Kitson, nice jersey, got back into serious cycling in 2008 after my heart attack and diabetic diagnosis. My daughter convinced me to enter the Michigan Tour de Cure, never heard of that, as part of my rehab in cycling and fundraising for the American Diabetes Association Tour de Cure ever since. Cool.
Uh-huh.
What a great group we have on here.
Yes.
It's what a great group. James Hardy, cheekily, may he rest in peace, the late, great James Hardy, described the Sydney Opera House as the scrum of nuns. I think that's fascinating, and I just want to thank again Gordon Smith and Alistair Murray, our Fosies, for making this possible. And if any others of you are so inspired, we've got Ed Worley's America's Cup Trivia Challenges that we run from time to time. And if any of you wants to replicate what Gordon and Alistair have just done, or what Gordon has basically done, please. It's real easy. He had one of his sons, I've forgotten which one now. He texted me this morning after I asked him which one. One of his sons put it was an iPhone, and you can see the brilliant quality of that.
Oh, yes.
It's just great. The audio is not 100%, and we're going to run a little segment for those of you who want to level up your audio when you're using an iPhone or even a camera, a mirrorless camera or similar for doing a video like this. But we'll do that in a show in a future show sooner than later. Bravo Zulu, Gordon. Bravo Zulu, Alistair. Do you like that, Julia?
Yes, it's really well done. And it's balanced, and the color is perfect, and he was perfect. And
exactly.
He
had a couple other questions about what had gone on at the two buildings behind him, and we'll maybe save those for another time. But since it was the 50th anniversary of the Sydney Opera House, I thought we would.
Makes me feel old.
Well, you are old.
Oh.
So am I.
No, gosh.
I think if we wanted to make real money, we'd be doing a show for the AARP, the American Association of Retired People. Nobody can believe that a 70-year-old and an 84-year-old are doing 2 shows a week live streaming to YouTube, Facebook,
Around the world.
and Twitter with a global audience. the global audience that puts up with us being croutonic twice a week. Replying to Steve Gruber, I wear a large in the U.S. and an XXL in Europe. That's why Americans are not fat. Jody is saying that shirt would look fantastic on me while I'm cycling through some beer at the pub.
That's just perfect.
Greg Phillips is in Vanuatu.
Oh.
Normally he's in Australia. Probably not a U.S. extra large. Thanks. Okay, so that's really nice. That's Pedro's in Wineglass Bay in Tasmania. Wow. Okay. They're all over the place
Yes.
in beautiful colors. Thanks again, Gordon and Alistair, and congratulations to David across the bridge.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I saw David last night.
You
so,
did?
Yeah.
Was he at the club?
Yeah.
For the loss?
Yes. Oh, good. Yes.
At the Yacht watching the 49ers lose. The Jay Rendell will be proud. He's from Minnesota, and the Minnesota Vikings beat the 49ers.
And they did.
And that was a brilliant performance by Kirk Cousins, their quarterback, and the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Okay, enough of all that stuff. Let's carry on here with the show. What, Julia, is being celebrated today? Big day in the affairs of globalists. I'm not exactly a globalist, as you know, Julia.
Yes.
Joe Holtzman will cringe at the mention of this, among others on here. But today is, that's your only clue.
United Nations.
Well done.
Oh.
You got it right. Well done. United Nations was established, the charter for the UN, the world's premier international organization. This is their own PR. Established at the end of World War II to maintain world peace and friendly relations among nations, was entered into force this day in 1945. Now, for extra credit, the UN Charter, do you know where it was signed? Where?
In San Francisco.
It was, and you're exactly right. It was signed here earlier in the year, the 26th of June. I think we mentioned that before on this show. It was signed here in San Francisco, the end of June 45, at the conclusion of that big conference. I don't remember that conference.
I wonder why.
I don't remember that conference.
I don't
Well, you
either.
were only what?
I wasn't. I wasn't. Well,
You were 5 or 6 at
yeah.
that time, something like that. Okay, now I'm going to get serious for a moment here because I can't go by this. We're about to, I hope not, but I'm afraid we're about to be involved in a hot war with Iran. And as I said on this show 2 or 3 weeks ago, I said, it looks to me like these people are all playing the chess pieces out. Iran's going to wait for Israel to attack Hamas. They're going to use that as an excuse to attack Israel, and that's going to give the U.S. an excuse to attack Iran. And I'm sorry. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I feel like is happening. Regardless, I am a staunch supporter of free speech. I don't understand in the UK how chanting jihad is a threat to your democracy as strong as it is in most of our Western countries. And I know you have a little bit different outlook on freedom of speech in the UK than do we. But we've got all these college kids around this country posting horrific things about, saying Hitler was right and anti-Semitic and just horrible stuff. I defend their right to do that for the most part. You can't go into a theater and shout. Where's that coming from? That coming from your computer?
Yeah.
I defend their right to do that. You can't go into a theater and shout fire, but anything that causes. And you could argue, I guess, that if you're shouting anti-Semitic stuff, that you're putting Jewish people and others at risk. But regardless, here's a video I just saw this morning, and I will. What are you doing over there, Julia? What are you doing?
I'm trying to turn.
I'm turning off your mic, and I'm going to play this video and see what you think.
I saw what you've been posting. Hitler was right. I didn't teach you that. You hide behind your screen, spewing all this hatred and ugliness. You got something you want to say? Get out of the truck and say it to their faces.
Okay, I thought that was one of the most powerful commercials I'd seen in a long time. I just saw it this morning, and it's been out for a while. It popped up, so I went and found it on YouTube and ran it. But that's, I think, an example of great parenting, and I think it's an example of, if kids want to say stupid things online or anywhere else, fine, okay, I get it. I defend their right to do that. I don't think students who are saying it should be doxxed by their schools or corporations that want to identify them and try to put their thumbs on them. However, it's not correct. I would never defend it, and I'm glad to see a commercial like that, and that's the way we should fight back, and that's the way this show, that's certainly the way Julia and I feel. Right?
Mm.
The freedom of speech, the freedom
Absolutely.
to express your opinion. That's what we do on this show. And then, hopefully, we listen to each other, which is a whole nother issue. Enough of that. That gets us to a more happy report and occasion with our dear friend John, whom I've never met, but I feel like he's a brother.
Indeed.
Coach's Corner with Super Fozy, John Emmett, checking in from a bright and sunny, for a change, Weymouth.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Welcome to sunny Weymouth, and a big shout out to Meg. I'm sure very special time in someone's life. I remember my wedding to Lily very well. So we do have quite a lot of background noise going on in the background because it's half-term week here. So there's lots of people working. Not quite sure who's drilling or harrowing their poor boat. That always seems a bit serious, but perhaps it's necessary. So I'm here just in front of the Andrew Simpson Centre near the main slip, and a lot of the sailors are having lunch, so unfortunately for the Fozy, I'm fairly unlikely to get run over, but you never know. Yeah, so far so good. Today we're just going to talk about venue analysis as we go down the coaching corner. Here, I think for me, it's almost instinctual. If the wind is northwesterly, we're in the harbour, we head right. If it's southwesterly, we're in the harbour, we go left. These things, you can obviously have variables in, if the gradient wind is meant to change direction, or if it's particularly strong current, etc., etc. But when you have large land masses, for example, Portland, this way, or the highland near Castle Cove, then it has a profound effect because of topography. And this is why we're so lucky that sailing, we go all around the world, or at least I'm lucky enough to at the moment, and we have the opportunities to sail at different venues, and different people maybe win because people will excel in those venues. Although having said that, I would say that sailors are getting more and more consistent now, and actually it's not just the level of competition, but the depth has got higher and higher. 20 years ago, you could call top three at the Olympics with your Ben Ainsleys and your Robert Scheites and your Michael Blackburns fairly easily. Now, and we're moving into 2024, it's getting a much tougher job. So I'll put my cards on the table and say I absolutely love the Marseille sailing venue. I know it really, really well. I've been fortunate enough to do a couple of medal race areas medal races, and done a lot of training on that medal race area, just like we did in preparation for 2012 here in Weymouth. And I think it's just so important. And the psychological trick is halfway there, to love the venue. For a lot of people, Qingdao, they didn't particularly like the very difficult conditions, light winds, all the rest of it. But actually, if you convince yourself you like the venue, it's much easier to perform, just like any task. If you enjoy the task, you're more likely to do a good job. And that's why some people are artists and some people are engineers. So I think that's a really important thing to think about, to like that venue. And I said I'm very lucky. I like Marseille. I think for the America's Cup, again, it's a tricky venue for those classes of boats. But I think actually to enjoy it, I think it's going to be spectacular, because actually if the racing is easy, for me it makes it less exciting. I think it's more enjoyable as a spectator if you don't know who's going to win until until the final boat crosses the finishing line. That's the way I like it. For Olympic Games, of course, most people's target will to be 19 points ahead going into the medal race, which may affect the way they sail the regatta. But this venue analysis, it's really important, and that's why the meteorologists and so on get paid, good money, because it's just one element, but those marginal gains are so important. And yeah, Marseille is a fantastic venue. Weymouth, we've just finished the qualifier season. I'm not sure if Tom will have a chance to show the latest video, but it's so nice to see the up and coming young sailors joining the class, and I really enjoy talking to them. I just wish the average concentration span for my videos was more than 3 minutes and I could do far more interviews, but that just seems to be the way it goes. But once again, very congratulations to Meg, and I think, yeah, I'll leave it there and I'll join you on the show.
That's John Emmett's regular report. John Emmett Sailing Get to the Front of the Fleet, and I thought we'd do the video that he mentioned. They had 200 boats in their trials, Julia, in this ILCA trials in the UK for who gets to go represent the UK
Yeah.
in international events next year, 2024. I mean, in the US, they'll use some existing regatta and have, hopefully they get some people show up, and that's how they qualify. It's unbelievable. It's very cool. Look at this report.
Been a fantastic weekend at the Weymouth and Portland National Sailing Academy. No surprising that this venue was chosen for the Olympic Games. And I think that the level of competition here just gets greater and greater. Nearly 200 ILCAs and some of the best racing all around the world. The reason we have these qualifiers is to qualify, hence the title, people to go to the international events. And I'm sure in 2024 we're going to have a really, really strong team. So hopefully see lots more people in March 2024. Today we're going to talk to the ILCA 4, the smallest member of the class. And can you introduce yourself?
I'm Jess, and I'm from Draycott Water Sailing Club. I moved from toppers this summer, but I'm doing toppers and lasers, that ILCA 4s alongside each other this year.
And you've had a fantastic start to the qualifier. I guess you really like Weymouth. Can you tell us about this weekend and last weekend? Was that your first major event?
So last weekend was I think my third qualifier in the ILCA, and it was this weekend was a little bit windier. So this weekend I won all 6 races, and the fleet was split into girls and boys, so I won all 6 races in the girls fleet. And then last week it was mixed with girls and boys, and then I managed to win that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good job. And today was quite different. We did a bit of harbour racing. We did a bit of bay racing. What do you prefer, and what's the difference?
I really enjoyed sailing in the bay yesterday because I really like the waves, and it's slightly breezier in the bay as well, which was quite nice. But then today's harbour racing was a lot more tactical, and you had to think a lot more. So I also enjoyed that as well, to prepare. So
Draycott, your home club. I guess you're looking forward to the Inland Championships.
in a few weeks' time, Draycott from home club. So I'm very excited for that. I'm really looking forward to sailing there.
This is your first season in the ILCA 4. I guess over the years, there's many people transitioning from the topper to the ILCA. What's your top tips for them?
I'd say just get a lot of racing practice, because the main thing is it's a lot it's just a different style of racing. So just enjoy it, and get a lot of racing practice.
Can you tell us about Draycott?
Oh, well, we've got a really good training system. So the Draycott Academy, it's kind of not a pathway, but it's a group of training which is coached by Steve Irish, and he has coached us all.
I always like the shout out for the coach.
Yeah, definitely. Steve's coached me since I was 9, so he's amazing. But yeah, they all kind of coach us, and yeah.
And the squad system, I'm a huge fan. We're very lucky in the UK because we have lots of sailors. I have worked with other countries where there's just one sailor. Can you say who else is in your squad, who you train with?
There's a massive group. I think in toppers there's 18 people, and in the ILCA there's ILCA 6s and ILCA 4s. So I think there's a group of I don't know, probably 15 people maybe.
So too many to name for the interview.
Yeah, quite a lot to name.
And what's your plan over this winter? You said you're going to do a bit more topper stuff as well.
So over the winter, I'm doing there's a break from qualifiers now until March, I think it is. So I'm doing quite a bit of training, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of toppers alongside. But I'm gonna mainly think about the ILCA 4s.
Brilliant. Well, wishing you lots of luck for the future. Thank you very much for chatting.
Cool. Thank you.
That's a late October weekend. at least mid-October weekend, mid to late October weekend in the UK, and they get, okay, it wasn't maybe 200. I guess Neil Collingridge is now saying it was 175 ilkas. John, I thought it said 200. But what a fantastic turnout. I have a question, Julia.
Yes, sir.
The sailors that John interviews, and mostly from the UK, but he also interviews kids from other countries.
Right.
Do they seem unusually articulate, bright, thoughtful?
Yes. I was thinking that too, because she is particularly well spoken.
How old is she? 14, 15?
I think she said she was 15.
Is that what it was, 15? And why is that? Is it because in the UK the kids are better educated?
Probably so.
Is it because sailing attracts a better educated crowd than it does in the U.S.? I mean, I'm not saying the U.S. kids are not. You get some kids like Jeffrey Peterson who are very bright and articulate, and probably a whole bunch of others.
Yeah.
The Gov Cup maybe attracts bright kids. I think my dad's always said to be a good sailor, you have to be articulate. You have to be mentally agile as well as physically agile, and it's one of the fabulous things about our sport.
Yeah.
But tell me if I'm wrong. What do the Fosey think?
It's hard to say.
What do they think? Very nice report, John. Ed Worley said, totally agree. Here in the U.S., we have the freedom to be a-holes and morons. Steve Gruber is saying, yeah, indeed. And I fight for the right to say what you want to say, and generally young sailors have. Let's see what President Canfield is saying. Taylor's dad. There's another bright, articulate sailor. I have a feeling that being bright, being observant, have situational awareness, as Buddy Melgus used to say, getting your head out of your cockpit or more. Maybe you're starting to see the results of our training system, Graham Sweeney is saying in the UK.
Yeah,
Maybe.
they've done a great job of that.
But I wish some student in sports, psychology, sports something, would have a look at that. What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's. I wouldn't argue with it, but I wouldn't say it's the only sport that does that.
Well, I'm not saying that sailing's the only sport. I think it's probably true that the top athletes in any number of sports, maybe most sports, are very bright and very. But I think particularly in our sport, David James, who's very bright, we know it isn't really hard to say, but it is something that once is not supposed to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Young sailors develop self-confidence and independence. That we've said over and over again here. That is for sure. But I'm just differentiating here a little bit between what we see sometimes in this country and maybe some others. But I mean, look at the gal John had on the other day from where she was from the South Pacific somewhere. Where was she from? Not Vanuatu. I got that in my mind because of where Greg Phillips or somebody is there. But one of those, and she very bright and articulate as well. Okay,
right.
Anyway.
Not Tonga.
No, I don't think so. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
PNG. There you go, Gordon Smith.
Thank you.
Papua New Guinea. That's right. Thank you for reminding us in the comments. It's before we get into the America's Cup. Thanks, David James. Yeah, she was from PNG. People, these young people with great brains. Gordon Smith, David James.
Yes. And he has two young sons or teenagers, so he's in the midst of all that.
Well, my daughter is not only 31, she's married off. Hooray! No more school money, no more wedding money.
Just hold on.
This day in history, this is a trifecta today, not just one or two, but we start with two, because this day, 24th of October, Julia, as you will know, was in the history of the markets in this country. First of all, 1929 was what is known as Black Thursday. Mm-hmm. The stock market crash, and it was the Depression had probably already started at this point, but this signaled for most people the onset of the worst of the Depression on Thursday, October 24th, 1929, as people were gathering on the steps of the New York Stock Exchange after the crash, and people were in real trouble because they had way overextended themselves at margin, borrowing money to buy stocks, and $100 will buy. This car must have cash. Lost all on the stock market. That was 1929. And then more recently in 2008, was arguably the worst day worldwide in markets. On the 24th of October 2008, many of the world's stock exchanges experienced, according to Wikipedia and beyond, the worst declines in their history, with drops of around 10% in most indices. In the U.S., the Dow Jones fell 3.6%, so not as horrific as other markets, but it's still a big chunk. The U.S. dollar and the Japanese yen soared against other major currencies, particularly the pound and the Canadian dollar, as world investors sought safe havens. Later that day, the deputy governor of the Bank of England, Charlie Bean, which didn't help things, suggested that this is a once-in-a-lifetime crisis and possibly the largest financial crisis of its kind in human history.
Mm-hmm.
Our bankers were saying some things, too, in our Federal Reserve that didn't help much. And it wasn't until much later, but by March 6th. So, these things don't just happen overnight. As we're watching the market. Now, the markets were up today pretty nicely.
They'll go down again. I'm sorry
You think?
to say. I'm sorry.
You
to say.
are. But back in 2009, the Dow Jones had dropped 54%. It's hard to believe. It dropped by half from its peak of 14,000 and change on October 9, 2007, over a span of 17 months. Housing market fell apart. Yes, indeed it did, Julie Aaron.
Yeah.
So that's two things that happened on this day in history. Now, something a little more interesting, perhaps, to the sailing world, and that is this document. Do you recognize that, Julia?
Mm-mm.
Clue is 1887. Let's see who gets that. Lots of comments. Man, we've already well over 100 comments.
Well, for good reason.
In 1887, the third deed of gift. Those of you who are not students of the deed, like Dr. Hamish Ross and a couple others of us, the third deed of gift was signed, was brought into effect on 24th of October, 1887. Now, that was just a month or so after the defense. And New York Yacht Club, you'll ask, well, why did that happen? The 24th of October marks the anniversary of the 1887 revision of the deed, the document which governs the America's Cup. The 1887 deed replaced the 82 revision, which in turn replaced the original 1857 gifting document. As is always the case in the America's Cup, it was controversial, and some would say anti-competitive, and not in the spirit of the original deed of gift. A popular accusation which will continue to be thrown around at almost every edition of the Cup from then on. And if you see up in the corner there, that's from the 36th America's Cup website, which you can see was sponsored by Prada. We're going to get into that in a second.
Oh, good.
So why was this 1887 revision made? Well, it was because of this boat. You know this boat? That is the Royal Clyde, Scotland, Yacht Club's Thistle, which had challenged for the Cup. And this is a photo taken. This is quite an interesting photo, 27th of September, one of the very early photos in the history of the world, 1887. And this company in Detroit that kept such photos maintained that photo. The defender at the time, the New York Yacht Club, wanted greater information on a challenging yacht's measurement. The second deed didn't require as much info and more time to prepare than the 7 months stated in the current deed, or then current deed. They wanted 10 months notice. They had just been surprised by the Royal Clyde and Thistle, which was longer on her waterline than the New York Yacht Club had been advised when the challenge was issued. The New York Yacht Club had built Volunteer to be longer than Thistle based on those documents, but now instead of being 10 inches longer, it turned out Volunteer was 7 inches shorter.
Mm-hmm.
So by revising the deed to controversy as the Brits would say, in 1887, to give New York more time for notices of challenge, and also to require that the yacht not only would not exceed, but would be exactly that length on, or nearly precisely that within measurement error of that LOA length or LWL length of on waterline, load waterline. And I tell you that when we did the 2010 we were, man, back the lawyers and the sea lawyers, and we were all back and forth and up and down to be sure that yacht measured precisely,
Yes.
and that the interpretations there too for this boat behind me. Because remember, when it sat on the water, the amas, the side floats, were out of the water, so you measured the central hull.
Yeah.
The central hull was measured, but not the length of the amas. When the thing heeled over, the amas were a lot longer, so you got effectively a lot longer waterline. But we knew that it was in measurement trim, and we had all the historical back and forth, but all back to the 1887 deed of gift, which was revised on this date. Thanks to Dr. Hamish Ross for providing us with that. Not the insight. I knew about it and grabbed it, but he said that's what happened on today, which is always helpful. What else? Julie had it. Deed of gift revision. Analysts are predicting Doom 2 for the Truth Social stocks, whatever that is. Okay, they're back and forth. I want to read Pindar's comment. The educationalist Dr. Kurt Hahn saw the benefits to young people through outdoor pursuits, including sailing. This became the model for Gordonstown School and others, which heavily influenced the creation of the excellent Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme. And I think it fits into with what Gordon Smith was saying in his videos at the top. He said, I need to get out and get some exercise. I got my electric bike. I'm going to go out and ride around. And Lord knows we all need exercise.
Yes.
And it's not a big deal. It's walking around for 30 minutes a day outdoors and get some fresh air and get your face out of your bloody phone.
Yes.
Baton Rouge just sent me a photo. What's that all about? When I get something from a Fozy during the show. Sydney Opera House under construction. He just sent a nice photo of the Opera House under construction. Okay, let's get to the Cup news because this is significant. And I woke up to this morning, and bravo Zulu. I mean, it really made me very happy to see this. So bravo Zulu to Mr. Dalton, to AC 37, and to Louis Vuitton. And in about 20 seconds, I pretty well said it all. Louis Vuitton has returned to the America's Cup for the 37th edition in Barcelona. It's no longer called the Barcelona America's Cup. It's now called the Louis Vuitton America's Cup Barcelona. And here was the press release that came out this morning. LV becomes the title partner of the Louis Vuitton 37th America's Cup Barcelona. There's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And returns to organize its legendary qualifying stages, the Louis Vuitton Cup.
Oh, that is good.
That's great news.
Yes.
And this is one of the images. I thought this was interesting, Julie, because you see over here, this doesn't look Photoshopped to me. It looks like they've already stuck a sticker. Is that Plutonic? Stuck a sticker?
Sure.
Looks like they already have that. Are we being invaded here in San Francisco? I guess I can close the window open here, let some air in. It's a warm day here for once. So nice to see the branding already on, and nice to see LV has rejoined the Cup to celebrate the meeting of two worlds where the art of sailing mingles with refinement, where adventure is inextricable from elegance, and where innovation opens new horizons.
How nice.
I thought that was great language.
Yes.
You agree?
I do.
The two institutions share the same innovative vision, combining performance improvement with the observance of centuries-old traditions. Both take the same approaches in areas such as 3D design and in combining sustainable lightweight materials, whether in crafting trophy trunks or the foils which enable the AC-40 and AC-75 to glide ever more rapidly through, and I might add, above the water. So this is from the release that came out this morning. Based on the strength of this vision, the French Maison will pick up the story which began in 1983 when Bruno Troublé got LV involved. From where it left off, crafting the LV Cup trophy in 2 unprecedented trophy trunks for the Louis Vuitton Cup and the Louis Vuitton 37th America's Cup. The trunks will be made bespoke at the historical LV Atelier in, how do you pronounce that, Julia?
Asnier.
Asnier, to respectively carry 2 trophies, the old mug, the silver ewer, awarded to the winner of the America's Cup since 1851, considered the oldest trophy in international sports in the world, and the LV Cup, a trophy created on the Maison's initiative that has been presented to the winner of the eponymous competition since 1983. Once again, the challenger who holds the LV Cup will get the opportunity to take to the Mediterranean waters to defy the defender. I like that. That's a new turn of phrase. To defy the defender, winner of the previous edition this year, Emirates Team New Zealand. I should probably practice reading these long, wordy clauses like that. But we got through
Oh, you
that.
did that very well, though.
It's with an immense sense, thank you. It's with an immense sense of pride that we return to this historical competition as title partner. Port Well of Barcelona will be the setting for a display of elegance and power where teams will compete with boldness, talent, and mastery on increasingly innovative yachts. These values equally reflect the spirit of LV and its artisans, states Pietro Beccari, President and Chief Executive Officer of Louis Vuitton. Founded just a few years apart, the America's Cup in 1851 and LV in 1854, the 2 institutions have tracked parallel courses for 130 years. In 1983, their paths crossed when LV offered to award a dedicated trophy for a face-off between the defender of the competition and the challengers. LV went on year after year to considerably improve the visibility and prestige of the America's Cup. And that, Commodores, ladies and gentlemen, is the truth.
Absolutely.
Is it not, Julia?
Absolutely.
Quote, we are working every day to make the Louis Vuitton 37th America's Cup in Barcelona the most exceptional ever by bringing its name and its spirit to the event. LV is once again part of our pursuit of excellence, unquote.
Yay.
States Grant Dalton, CEO of the America's Cup event. Bravo, Zulu.
Oh, that makes me feel really good.
Couldn't agree more. And I think it's great. Now, if they just cancel the event in Jeddah and get on with life, otherwise we'll be completely, I think, happy. Some people not happy with the yachts, but nonetheless happier than where we were a day ago.
Yeah.
This was the headline, Down Under, big budget sponsor LV in America's Cup comeback. Todd Nile, who used to report for Radio New Zealand, I think, writing for stuff.co.nz. We made a conscientious decision. This is a quote from Grant Dalton. We made a conscious decision, that it was so toxic, that is the Prada deal, that it was bad for the event and bad for Luna Rossa, he said, the team. Unquote. The rising tension with Prada as a big event sponsor in Auckland peaked when a Prada official tried to stop British challenger Sir Ben Ainslie from entering the media center, sparking a physical encounter witnessed by Todd Nile and by Stuff and by everybody. It's not exactly what happened, but it was a problem. Dalton said that the event team sponsored tension, gone, relationships with the Italian challenger LRPP had returned to its previous good state. Well, we'll see about that, but at least it's a nice sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you agree? Here's finally a slide I think you're going to be seeing a lot of. This is a new claim. Maybe it's been around and I just haven't seen it before, but Victory travels in Louis Vuitton. I like
that's
that.
That's nice. Yeah.
Victory
Yeah.
travels in Louis Vuitton. They've been using that V formulation more and more in their graphics and their design. Class returns to the cup. I mean, not that Prada wasn't classy, but it was a conflict when you had the title partner of a team also sponsoring the Challenger Selection Series and the event. Bravo Zulu all around. What are your comments, everybody? What are your comments? Coach yourself to win. I think that is Emmett, John Emmett, saying fingers crossed. What is going? Where's the LV Cup now? Ed Worley said, I don't know. That's a good question. Thought Prada didn't want them involved. I don't know, Bill Canfield. That's a good question. Replying to Graham Sweeney, use a fifth dimension tape measure. Tom, did the cup in its LV case get its own airplane seat when you were flying? I never flew the LV Cup around the world that I remember.
But
I flew the America's Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess Stingray's talking about the America's Cup.
Yeah.
Did the America's Cup in its LV case get its own airplane seat? Yeah,
Yes.
it did, in first class too.
Yeah.
In part because it was tough to get it in the coach. That was part of the reason. But of course, to be classy,
Got to go first class.
you got to go first class.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and there were a couple of times when we were I remember flying up to Hamilton Island, from Sydney up to Hamilton Island on a smallish plane, a 737, or maybe it was maybe it was a European plane, but
It didn't
an
fit.
Airbus, but it didn't fit. And we had a big hassle about putting it in the hold. And I said, no, it is not going in the hold. I can't take my eyes off it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many nights I slept with that
I
trophy.
know.
At least not literally with the trophy, but with the case
Yeah.
in the room.
Yeah.
And if you were at a hotel stop somewhere, you'd go down to dinner. You couldn't go out to dinner because you didn't want to wheel it into some restaurant.
No.
Although wheeling it through the airport was enough of a madness.
Ooh.
Oh, is that your mother-in-law in that case? Who's in that case? No, that was the LV Cup.
Uh-huh.
But you take it down to dinner, sit there with you.
Yeah.
Then you take it back up in the hotel room, lock the door, double lock the door.
It was the AC Cup.
America's Cup. I never traveled that I remember with the LV Cup.
Yeah, you just said LV.
LV Cup. Yeah, the America's Cup, if I misspoke. But that's why we have Julia here to keep. Boy, that yellow sweater is fabulous. Why are you wearing yellow and blue today? Never ask questions you don't know the answer to.
Yes. Well,
It's not the University of Michigan you're celebrating.
no, I'm celebrating the opening of the Warriors basketball season.
The Golden State Warriors, the basketball team,
Right.
which has been rather successful in the last decade, is opening tonight. Victory travels in Louis Vuitton. I think we're going to see that claim
That's nice.
a lot. I like it. Bravo to all involved.
I like Andrew Pindar's
What's
comment.
What's he say?
Tom Eamon's trophy wife.
Trophy wife. Just like an ice hockey player to always travel with his cup. Yeah, Gordon Smith. Hockey players, that's one sport where they do wear a cup.
Mm-hmm.
I flew a backstay from VLC to Bologna in a first class seat. It drank a lot of champagne. I flew a backstay on a boat that probably couldn't go below. Yellow and blue will bring other things to people's minds in 2023. John Emmett is saying, yeah, the continuing war in Ukraine. Ukraine. Thus, the Gov Cup was born 9 months later. Room service. Yeah, room service. That's true, too. Okay, now we got our Corrector Crutonic USSA Championship of Champions in radio-controlled yachts. That is the theme of today's show. I asked the question, and you probably, those of you in the States anyway, will know about this. And several other countries have a similar event. That is a championship of dinghy or one design champions. That's an annual event bringing together the class champions. And it's been going on in this country since 1976. How do I know that? Because I won it in 76. Off the top of my head, I think there was two, actually, a spring and a fall regatta, and then they ran it annually thereafter. I won the second one in October of 76. That's a long time ago. It was just held at this fabulous club in Dallas, Texas, Corinthian Sailing Club. And they normally get about 20 entries, 19 plus they invite a mystery guest. In fact, the last time this event was at Corinthian CSC, I was the mystery guest 6-7 years ago, yeah. And I acquitted myself. We were fourth or fifth. I can't remember now. But aside from all that, this event is a cool event. It's been going on for a long time. And as I say, you normally, by invitation, by resume, class champions in the various one design, including keelboat classes, not just dinghy classes, apply. Mm-hmm. And they select 19 of them. And then a 20th is this mystery guest, is the VIP guest that they invite into sail, as they did this year as well. This year, they decided to run it in RC yachts, in model boats, radio-controlled yachts. And the controversy broke out almost immediately.
Yes.
It's been widely panned. And, you feel sorry for those people who do race RC boats. Why can't they come to the thing? Well, they should be able to come to it. But the event was, and I was there when the event was started. I was heavily involved in USRU, as it was called. At the time, the whole idea was to bring the One Design class champions together in the Snipe and the Lightning and the Flying Scot and the Wayfarer and the Tell Me What, the Topper, the Sunfish, the Laser, and have them have it out. Do it. And you do it in a class, and you'd think, well, maybe the class champion from that class would win. Didn't happen very often. Happened sometimes. But usually you got just great sailors who were multifaceted. They could sail just about any boat well with a day of practice. Well, that didn't happen this year because this event was handled, I understand beautifully, by Corinthian Sailing Club, as you would expect. It's a terrific club. And they only had 9 boats, 9 entries, which in and of itself is really sad. And as you can see here, the top 5 finishers here, Dragon Flight 95, that was the type of boat that was being raced. That was the RC boat. Dragon 465 was second. That class represented. I'm sure they're all good sailors, at least good RC radio-controlled sailors, model yacht sailors. International 1 meter, another RC class. And then the RC Laser. And then the traditional classes down, Cal 20, J24. There was the guest. Ched Proctor's a hell of a good sailor, Lightning and other classes. Flying Scot Masters. In fact, they even, because they had so few entries, they took not only the Flying Scot North American champion, they also took the Flying Scot Masters champion, the old fart. I can say that. Betsy Allison, terrific sailor that she is, representing the Hands of 303, which is the sit-in boat for that she's been racing as a physically challenged disabled sailor. And then Peggy Menzies was a hell of a good sailor from Crescent Sail Club in Detroit, sailing the Wayfarer, popular in Canada and UK and a few in the States. Betsy's on here, and she's the, I think, last I knew, she was also the director of adult sailing for U.S. sailing. Every RC sailor has raced other boats prior to RC sailing. Okay, Betsy, fine. But keep going. Anybody's got a comment before I wade into this. Now, that is a boat syndicate I could sponsor, Stingray is saying. Truth is, would love to pick up one of those RC boats. Graham Sweeney, we have the same event in the UK. It's called the Endeavour Trophy, run by the Royal Corinthian Yacht Club at Burnham and Crouch. I was the photog for many years. Have the RC boats at the event for the little kids for fun otherwise. Crutonic, Worley is saying. Betsy Allison is saying there were 12 teams. Okay, were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 11. She would know. She was there racing and I think probably overseeing it for U.S. Sailing. Jeff Kitson, I have RC boats, power and sail, even a 1 meter RC trimaran, but I do not think this is a fair championship with RC yachts. Ridiculous, in my opinion. Would expect competitive RC sailors to walk away with the awards. Well, you just saw, that's exactly what happened. And I'm not begrudging RC yachts. They ought to be able to come and sail in the Championship of Champions too. But this event was for and about one design, sit on and get your ass wet type boats. Cup travel first class. Okay, we're back to that. So is it correct or crutonic? Pedro Foiling Sailor. I believe those DF-95 are designed by Buzz Coleman. I do enjoy sailing them, and you only get wet if it is raining. I don't see Jay Frederick Bland on here, Julia, but is he on here?
No, but there's another comment from
Steve Atkins. There's an Adkins comment. Crutonic on a grand scale. I know a local RC champion was not a champion as a sailor, meaning a sit-in boat. Saved about 7,000 doing these boats, Bill Canfield is saying.
Yeah.
Michael Vare, this is the new direction for U.S. sailing. John Lamberts Van Buren, I think U.S. Sailing picked up the idea from the Stad Yacht Club. Yeah, okay.
That's what I was looking for.
They race RC in winter in the pool of their clubhouse in the Alps. Yeah, that is true, and I'm a founding member of that club, one of the 10 original members, and we do have that. and we race. It's a ski yachting competition that we race in Gestad, in the Stad, in the Schwimmbad, the
Yes.
local swim hall. And we have big fans at the end and some RC boats that Bill Koch donated. And we match race up and down the pool.
Mhm.
And it's great. And I used to umpire. I haven't been there in a while, but in the early days, 20, 25 years ago, we used to race up and down. And I was umpiring it, and it was great fun. And we had that's a tremendous event.
Yes.
Any of you ever want to go to the Stad Yacht Club ski yachting competition, end of February, do it. But really, Betsy, I don't know if Betsy wants to make any other comments to defend this decision, but it's been widely panned for the obvious reasons. Let's see what other comments. My neighbor is a USA J34, J24 champion, boat owner and helm. He loves racing the RC boats. Well, I love racing them too. Dennis Conner likes to say them. Steve Gruber, I wonder if U.S. Sailing has ever received or accepted an application from an RC champ. Yeah, I think they have. I think RC champions have probably heretofore sailed in the Championship of Champions. But this event was designed, I guarantee you, because the donor of the trophy and the original committee, I was, involved heavily at the time. A guy called Jack Brown from South Carolina, long gone, but donated the trophy. And the whole idea was to bring the champions together. And
Right.
maybe we copied what was being done in other countries. Maybe not. I don't recall that. But the idea was to bring all those
Yes.
champions together from the dinghies and the small one-design keel boats.
Right.
There weren't many one-design keel boats in those days, J24s notably.
Yeah.
And have, etchels, solings, and have a regatta. Now, I ask you, if this is, Betsy, you're on here, I hope, and if it's a good idea, why don't we run this event in ice boats? Would you run this in ice boats? Of course not. Would you run, maybe somebody would.
I'm
right?
going to say,
It's Crutonic. Would you run it in e-sailing online, e-sailing? Run the Championship of Champions in e-sailing? World Sailing just had their e-sailing championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those people are regular sailors. They're real e-sailors. But that's not what the event is for and about. And as Gruber is saying, why not ice boats?
Yeah.
And Betsy Allison, okay, let's see what she says. In order to host a CFC, we need a host club and a fleet of 21 boats to run the event. If classes and clubs want to showcase their clubs and fleets, they need to step up and put their money where their mouths are. Fair enough. Good comment, Betsy, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But Phil Walker, Phil, are you an RC boat? Somebody commented on my Facebook this morning saying that they're not only an RC yacht, and I call them yachts because they are. Model boats, RC yachts. Are you, Phil, the one who's the Dragon Flight 95 proud sailor? You said, yeah. I'm not biased. I'm a proud sailor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the purpose of the championship is not to go racing in ice boats or in RC boats, yachts, or in e-sailing, electronic sailing, or would you race this in foiling moths? Excuse me, would you race it in kite foilers?
Why?
These are different disciplines from what this thing was designed for, which is for the broad-based, what most all of us do in the sport, which is to sit on boats that displace, and maybe if you're lucky and good sailors and you have some breeze, they plane
Mm-hmm.
or surf, not to go off and do it in RC boats. And I rest my case with just looking at the results.
Yeah.
If we'd seen something a little mixed here differently, as you do in other events, when, as I said, the year I won it, we were sailing in Y flyers. I've never seen a Y flyer. Okay, I'd seen pictures of them.
Yeah.
And Major Hall crewed for me. We went down there a day ahead of time, maybe 2 days ahead of time, sailed, and it's a scow. It's not much different from it's a wide fireball or a sea scow or even. So, good sailors will figure out how to sail good boats, and it was highly tactical racing and yada, yada. So, and the Y Flyer National or North American champion finished, I don't know, 5th or 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So I rest my case. I mean, just look at the results.
Yes.
Any other comments? John Emmett, I would say a typical day in Weymouth foilers now outnumber water pushers. Remember, you don't have to go back many decades to when there were no trapezes. Okay, and again, the purpose of this event, I think, is for the run of the mill, not just run of the mill, the broad based population of sailing. And I hear Betsy when she says, you need clubs and classes that'll put up a fleet of some things.
Yeah.
And maybe they had trouble doing that, although one hears that's not the case. Okay, here's another comment from Betsy. The committee worked hard to find a one design fleet and club to host. Okay, so she's saying they couldn't find one in 2023. The only complete bid was from the DF95 class, and they and Corinthian stepped up to the plate. We welcome classes and clubs to bid. Okay, well, there's something wrong with U.S. sailing then, Betsy, with respect. If you can't get a club and a class, or there's something wrong with the sport to come up, and maybe there's 20 is too big a number. Maybe you got to cut it to 10. If you can't come up with 10 Flying Scots or 10 somethings or 12, like the Gov Cup does, like a whole bunch of other clubs and classes do, like San Diego Yacht Club did for the Masters Championship this past weekend in J105s, and for the Lipton Cup this coming weekend, J105s. Jeff Kitson, I own Sail Full-Size Power and Sail, and I own Sail RC. But the CFC with RC yachts, in my opinion, is not a championship. John Lambert's Van Buren, who's in the U.S., but he's saying in Holland we have a race for the PIP, Primus Inter Pares. What's that in Latin? Forever. Always in affordable 16 to 20-foot keelboats, no kite, allowing all classes and all sailors of all ages to compete, and it's huge fun. Okay, well, I think we have to be sympathetic to Betsy's problem. But Betsy, part of the problem is that, the whole volunteer level within U.S. sailing, where it used to be run by committees and volunteers from all over the country, I think you had more club and class participation than you do now, when it's basically largely staff driven. And that's another editorial comment, but I believe that fully. Steve Gruber, I crewed in the CFC the last time it was in Thistles. The Etchells champion, among others, were at a total disadvantage. The winner was the Thistles champ. Good fun was had by all. Okay, that is true. Sometimes the class champ does win, but not always, at least not in my experience. And if you go back and look through the list, you'll be of the champions over the many years. With respect, sailors need to encourage their class and clubs to participate rather than complain. Fair enough. And I encourage clubs and classes to do just that, Betsy, as you know. Graham Sweeney, the boats need to be two-person boats that don't have a nationals like sail training vessels. The Endeavor, there's a good point. If you can find a class of boats that are something that is not one particular, that has class championships, that's probably even better. What does a decent DF95 run? I paid about $1,000 for my RC yacht, whose exact model name I forget, including custom rig. That's from Stingray up in Seattle. Hi, John Rogers. It's a big commitment from a club. I think the challenge of getting a host club that wants to put it together with quality, equally fast boats and coordinating a bunch of volunteers contributed a lot to the decision, not to mention the expense, a lack of people that want to step up, and plenty of requirements from U.S. Sailing. That's like flying people around and bringing in judges and national race officers. Yep. Primus inter pares, the first among equals. Thank you, John. Corinthian has, Baton Rouge is making a good point. They still have a big Flying Scot fleet, and Corinthian raced it in Flying Scots, sailed it in Flying Scots last time. I suspect, Betsy, had you said we're not going to race this in RC boats, we need a club and a class to step forward in a traditional one design or small, one design keelboat or dinghy, I think you would have probably had somebody do that. Fritz Mueller, the big challenge for clubs is boat ownership by the club. Jeff Kitson, I was aware of a lot of the AMYA, that's the American Model Yachting Association, pre-event chatter was a great marketing pitch for the DF95 and 65 fleets. Bill Canfield, an interesting point, is better not to have it if that's the case. Okay, Betsy's, my department works with over 600 volunteers a year and reconstituted the One Design Committee. We are working to support One Design sailing in all respects. Yeah, okay, Betsy, with respect, it's not the same as having a committee that is making the decisions as opposed to the staff making decisions, which is what's happening now. Azores, Pindar saying Azores whaleboats. That is not true. There are not a wealth of requirements, okay? Josh Toso, who used to work for U.S. Sailing, was the esteemed marketing manager and is now working for one of the largest boat companies, suppliers here in the U.S. Classes definitely need to get more involved and step up to support the host clubs. I'm sure U.S. Sailing would love to see bids from multiple one design classes, club duos to host the CFC in their boats. Fair enough. Phil Burgess, Tom Eamon's show is slamming the event live now. Okay, I don't know if that comment was intended for us. Sail Newport could easily, here's Steve Atkins, good point. Sail Newport could easily run it in J22s completely within their volunteer support. Ed Worley, minimize the cost dollars to the club and maximize the fun. Okay, I think we're going to, if Clark Chapin were on here, he'd say we're starting to beat the dead horse, and that's probably true. I appreciate Betsy coming on and making her comments, and we can, and we will. In fact, I got a nice note this morning from the president of U.S. Sailing, and these people all work hard, including and especially Betsy and the president and all the other volunteers. Josh, Betsy's not a volunteer; she's a paid staffer, but there are a lot of volunteers who do donate their time and energy, as you know, Julia. Josh Tozo works very hard for the sport, whether he's working for U.S. Sailing or the boat company or any number of others. I think RS 200 is a good fit, John Emmett is saying. I think probably Josh Tozo would agree. Okay, I guess have we covered that one, Julia?
Beaten it to death.
Well, not really. I think there were a lot of constructive comments, but I just think U.S. Sailing is, I mean, I'm a big believer in the marketplace. And all you have to do is go back to the results. And there weren't, and I went and looked on the website. They invite 19. They normally have spots for 19 entries. They didn't get 19 entries. As Betsy herself said, they had 12, including a guest. Can we spell Croutonic correctly, please? Croutonic is spelled with an O, Betsy. Croutonic, crouton. I don't know. I have seen AC sailors recently in Barcelona sailing RC boats on. Great. Steve Gruber. With the Thistles, all 20 boats were loaned, and some came from very far away. Oh, man, the comments are rolling in. Every boat had new sails bought by the Thistle owners at a discount for ownership after the CFC. It was a challenge to sail with different cuts, even for experienced Thistle sailors. Betsy thinks we have to spell, it's French-Canadian. I think that's why we have the O in there, Betsy. But we'll go back. We'll look at that. Maybe Betsy's right. We got to spell crouton without the O.
Well,
the first O. I think the Endeavor has 30 entries. I was too late and missed my place. With the RS 200, they supply new sails. Members provide accommodation. Sailors borrow boats from what is a very friendly class. Betsy's. Okay, Betsy. Well, Betsy, I mean, you can see the comments. And yeah, some of that is I don't think the Fosey don't listen to me. They've got their own comments in here, and several times I've been shouted down, right, Julia?
Yeah.
But I've said it's all about the croutons. Thank you, Steve Gruber. Okay, we have beaten that one to death. We'll carry on. Thank you for all of your comments as we move ahead to another Bravo Zulu and some cool stuff here. A couple more Bravo Zulus, and this is a race that Ted Ryman, among others of you, have encouraged us to cover, and I haven't covered it up until this moment. Maybe we've mentioned it once or twice. Ocean Globe Race, which is it's the Whitbread race. It's brought back to life here, and let me leave that graphic on for a moment. And it started in September, the first leg from Southampton down to Cape Town, and they've just finished in Cape Town. Then they're going to sail from Cape Town across the Southern Ocean to Auckland, and that doesn't start till November 5th, so they got a nice break here. And then from Auckland, which starts on January 14th, the third leg is from Auckland to Punta del Este. And then the fourth and final leg on March 5th is from Punta, here, look at the chart here on the left. I'm sure you all see that.
Yeah.
Punta del Este back up to Southampton, and they're expecting a finish of April 10 to 20. So it's the typical kind of Whitbread, Cape Town, Auckland, and around the Cape Horn and Punta del Este and back up. So thanks for covering the ocean globe, John Lamberts Van Buren is saying, and I'm happy to do it. And also, there are, I mean, surprisingly, there are more teams in this than there were in the Championship of Champions, Betsy. 14 teams representing 8 nations in this, what is really a redo of the Whitbread race and the history of the Whitbread in traditional, normal yachts with ratings. They're IRC. The teams, what did I say? 14 teams? Yeah, 8 and 6 from how many countries? Let me go back to that guy. 8 countries, 14 teams from 8 countries. And they're in different divisions. And there are some hot boats and there are some less hot boats, but 80% of the crew are amateur. And they're having a great time by all accounts. And as I said, Ryman, our resident Fozy, popular Fozy in Cape Town, said, hey, you got to cover this, and sent me a link to a couple of videos, which we will now play. The first is the first to arrive, the celebration of that yacht, a brief video. Have a look. Okay, so that's the line. That's the line. Shoshaloza, singer is saying. Shoshaloza. Line honors there. And then I did not know that Kayard was involved in this. And he's there.
Is he?
Yeah, have a look at this video. This is the IRC winner on corrected time.
Well, I'm Paul Kayard. I'm here in Cape Town. It's 3 o'clock in the morning on October 21st. Waiting for our friends on Translated 9 to finish. It's blowing about 60 knots out there, so quite a welcoming party from the very hospitable South Africans.
You've been great, guys. Really great. All of you. Great.
Feeling super good. I'm so happy to be here. A very grand finale. 40 knots in the face. Last super crazy change sailing. But now we are super happy to be here in Cape Town.
Text you want to have my phone, okay? Finally, after 40 days.
Just incredible.
Well, the team's here. It's 4:45 in the morning on the 21st. They're super excited. They won leg one. It's a great start to a long race around the world. But they sailed a smart race, high percentage moves. I watched them every day, and I'm super happy for them, and I'm proud to be part of the translated team. So, you know, there's nothing more human, really, than sailing around the world with 9 other people on the boat, and with the limited technology that they're using. So, you know, the slogan the translated uses is we all need to believe in humans, and there's nothing more important than believing in humans when you're sailing 7,000 miles in the ocean.
Well, it ended a little abruptly, but what a fabulous video.
Oh, yes. And I was thinking back to the EF language round the world championship, which Paul in fact won. But I also followed his story every single day around that, and I didn't think I would get caught in it. And
well,
I did.
you're in love.
Well,
you're like my mother. My mother is in love with KR too. Well, always has been.
It's okay.
I'm teasing.
It's okay.
I just thought it was great. In the comments, look, for those who crave real sailing, that's Julie Ahrens. And back Storm Trials is rigged. Yep. Stingray about the spring box. Look at John Lambert's Van Buren's comment about halfway up there. The kind of boats we, your Fosey, can actually sail ourselves. How about that?
Yeah.
And Ed Worley's saying Paul's a class act. Julia, I didn't know Ed was or Paul was involved. Did you?
What? With what?
With this
with
race?
This race? I didn't really know.
I mean, I saw him at the club the other night, and I know he was sailing stars in Michigan the other day in the Wooden Star Championship, and he was at last Tuesday was the auction for the St. Francis Sailing Foundation.
Yeah.
Now he gets around the world. He's like Emmett and Pindar and an international man of mystery. But bravo Zulu to Paul. He's obviously involved with this translated team that won IRC, won the corrected time. And it was 40 some odd days. It's a long leg down there. And we'll cover this. I don't know that much about the race, but you all seem excited about it, and we'll cover it some more. And as several of you said, it's not just that there's 80% of them are amateur on each of the boats, apparently, or at least collectively within. Well, I guess there's some sort of an amateur rule. But also they're using paper. They're not using much technology. Yeah. Paper charts. Is that right? No sextant and paper charts. So
I don't know.
Traditional sailing, and they got a nice entry. They got a nice turnout. So bravo Zulu to them, and we'll cover that some more. It gets us to the last leg and talk about traditional sailing and a traditional event that attracts a lot of boats. And that is the Rolex Middle Sea Race. We played the promotional video for it some, 2 or 3 shows back.
Yeah.
And it started this past weekend on the 21st. And Valletta, there's one of many great pictures there of from the battery, from the saluting cannons up there. And the light air start, which was typical. And then here is a video produced, of course, by Rolex, and a typically superb Rolex video of the start of that race.
Breathtaking scenery and relentless competition. The Rolex Middle Sea Race. This year's race brings together over 100 entries from 26 nations to the Royal Malta Yacht Club.
Yeah, the mud, it's always unpredictable and the weather shifts super quickly.
The start line is incredible.
The 606 nautical mile course begins and ends in Malta. It attracts a perfect mix of Corinthian and professional crews who compete for the most coveted prize, the overall winner on handicap. Swiss entry Caro will be looking to carry momentum from their Rolex Fastnet victory.
We're feeling good this year. Now we're here in Malta, completely different set of circumstances, completely different set of weather conditions, and it would be absolutely amazing to pull off a result here.
But so too will the young crew aboard Red Bandit after their Rolex Euralia win.
New situation, new game. Normally we're good in light wind, so in the northern part of Sicily we expect quite a bit of a changing light wind situation. Hopefully we can take advantage. Let's see how it goes.
First to leave the stunning Grand Harbour were the multi-hulls, followed by 6 separate mono-hull starts, increasing in size at exact intervals. This race is set to be a meteorological puzzle for the entire fleet. The team that pieces this together and maintains their composure in this compelling competition will win the Rolex Middle Sea Race on corrected time.
Is that a fabulous video or what?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that was the video shot right after the start, and it's a couple days old. But this morning, 2 videos came out with the line honors, winners in multi-hull and mono-hull, and here they are respectively.
It's a mighty race in Mediterranean, and it's also a super technical course. But we did try our best, and I think we are happy of what we did on this race. And for us, as a Mod 70, we are super fast, so it's not so far away to come from France. So I invite everyone to come next year and have fun again with 5 Mod 70 on the starting line. It's the first race for some of the people on the Mod 70 on a multi-hull of this size, so it was really important to finish the race.
Honestly, the end of the course was golden for us because I felt like we tacked our whole way round and we just had a 72 wind angle blast towards Malta, and that's why we're all caked in salt but have huge grins on our faces.
Every race, every single miles we make together, it's a big improvement to reach our goal to break the record on Trophée Jules Verne.
It's been such a steep learning curve and really a huge leap forwards for the famous project.
You see this comment from David James. Does Rolex use the same production company for all their videos? They should get an Oscar.
Yes.
Oscar, the award here, at least in this country, for
best films.
Best films. Don Lunabo is fantastic. Okay, we got one more. We have the line honors in the monohull that, again, both these videos came out just before we went to air. Enjoy.
Mean to win the Rolex Middle Sea Race. I think the best 600 nautical mile race in the world. That's why we came back too. But it's a great feeling to do it again, because this is a magnificent city and a magnificent route to go do. And we've been sitting on deck and looking at all the islands, and it's really beautiful.
It's been a difficult 12 months getting the boat up and ready after the last line honours win. So to do it again against such esteemed competition with Lucky, Bullet, you know, those guys sail well, and we're really pleased to get line honours. We got through Messina, you know, literally 3 or 4 minutes to spare. It was us and Lucky vying for that position behind Bullet. We got through, and I'm not joking, they were literally 5 boat lengths behind us, and they got stuck for, I don't know, what turned out to be 20 odd miles. With the Rolex Middle Sea Race, it's a circle, so everybody gets a bit of their good stuff, Unfortunately for the guys that go well downwind, it didn't happen in this edition, and it suited us being sort of 90% on the wind.
Huh? Huh?
Oh, yes.
That's a good way to come out of a video. Huh? Sound like a crouton.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful.
Wonderful stuff. Now, the yacht Lucky, you heard them referring to, broke the rig. And I got a picture this morning from Andrew McIrvin.
Yeah.
And I didn't put it in the show. I was hoping it would be covered in this video, but we'll do a little follow-up to that because that is such a popular race and cool stuff. Yeah. Line honors Mitch Bloom. Tom Pace is saying, didn't Lucky drop her rig today? Yes, Steve Atkins, they did. Thank you for that comment. And as I said, I have a picture of the yacht back at the dock, thanks to Andrew McIrvin, who sent that along. Good stuff, great race, and good fun. Now, what gets us to the finish line here in the D block. I've only got 3, and Julia,
yes,
they're all clean.
Oh,
good. They're all
Oh,
clean.
good.
Now, these were coincidental. This one came from Joe Holtzman. Oh, my God, that is so offensive. Prove you're not a robot. Good, huh? Good social commentary.
Yeah.
Prove you're not a robot. And the guy's, he's offended.
Absolutely.
Good one, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is another one along the same lines. This from Graham Sweeney. That isn't what, quote, prove you're not a robot means, Bob. Stupid, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Clever. I thought in juxtaposition, those are good fun.
Yes.
Now here we always like to end with a sailing meme or joke or cartoon, right?
Yes.
Okay, here's a sailing one. $50, and it's whatever you want, baby. Ever replaced the anchor light on a sailboat? Sailing! It's about sailing, Julia.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, I've been there.
Greg Phillips
Mm-hmm.
from Australia sent that along. That gets us indeed to the finish line. And you like to say,
Please like, follow, and share. Your interest spreads geometrically.
indeed, it does help us, and we appreciate it very much. Comments are welcome too, even in replay, and people are so respectful. We appreciate that. Also, if you'll become a patron, please support us because you are our sponsors. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. That's what keeps us on the air. It is viewer-supported media, and without the few bucks a month that we get from many of you, we wouldn't do this. I couldn't afford the internet costs and all the equipment costs here, Julia.
I know.
And my rent from my landlady, who's very generous.
Mm.
Thank you, Don Lunabos. No luck, Jody Shields, Ed Worley. That's cheap. Out of luck. No luck, unlucky. Maybe not so. You're talking about the name of that boat. Well, they just renamed it. That boat was, I think, named something else before. Thank you to our patrons who help keep this on the air, us on the air. Also, thank you to those who let us use their video, audio, and images. We did so for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
What I was thinking was, I had a grandmother who said, she talked about getting flockies.
Getting what?
Flockies. And I didn't know what flockies were forever.
Flockies, F-L-O-C.
And what she was saying is getting off lucky.
Getting off. Thank God for getting off lucky.
Yeah.
Flockies.
Flockies. So
I thought that was going to be something coming out of your mouth that was going to require a shake of the finger.
Oh, no.
Okay. Thank you, Julia. Have a nice rest of your week, everybody. And you too, Julia. Hope to see you on Friday. We will do a show on Friday. No weddings this weekend.
Not so far.
There is a birthday party this Saturday, but that's another issue. See you on Friday. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.